Hello, fellow friends. My name is Daniel. I am a security expert. I have received expert trainings on protection and assistance and monitoring and detection of nuclear, biological, and chemical weapons of mass destruction. I have been trained in about 18 different countries, which includes Israel, United States of America, Serbia, Czech Republic, Switzerland, severally, South Africa, and Mozambique. I have represented the country at the United Nations General Assembly. I want you to know that we have a national authority on nuclear and biological weapons, an office under the presidency. And Nigeria is a state party and signs the convention with the Organization for the Prohibition of Biological and Chemical Weapons. So Nigeria was prepared. No one should say that Nigeria wasn't prepared. Although I am not trying to say that COVID-19 is a biological weapon, but it has all the parameters to be grouped as a biological weapon. There's no reason why we should treat it as a common medical situation as it is now. It has to be treated as a biological weapon. And that's how the Americans are treating it for now. The problem we have is that our doctors never knew that they were not supposed to move in as frontliners, and that was where we had a crisis. I was expecting the national authority to redeploy all experts to find out what it is and then guide the doctors appropriately. I'm not comfortable that we have lost a lot of doctors in this country because anyone that prepares a weapon of mass destruction targets the doctors. When he eliminates the doctors, he succeeds. So we also know that that is their target, and what we do is we do not allow doctors as frontliners. We are experts to go in to find out what the case is. When you see 2-3 people dying on a stretch, the next thing is you call the expert, they move in and find out, is it a nuclear weapon? Is it a biological weapon? Is it a chemical weapon? Is it just a medical case? Is it food poisoning? And then when they are even going in, they go in well kitted. Because you might think it's a biological weapon and not it's a chemical weapon, and through inhalation you are gone. So we don't allow doctors to go in for issues like that. We don't allow them to go in as frontliners. Experts are trained, and that was why the office of the National Authority on Biological and Chemical Weapons was created under the office of the presidency. And that's how we got our expert trainings. And when we came back to this country, we were supposed to train people, which we did. We have squads to rescue people in mass casualty incidences. I have personally delivered so many papers on this in this country, but I'm surprised that when this issue happened, I was not called upon, no one was called upon. I called my colleagues and no one was informed. So everybody just had to keep quiet. Because any statement that you make will make it look as if you are interested in making some interest. I personally sent a memo to the president through one of the service chiefs on the 4th of February, informing him to lock up the 3 airports and build isolation centers at the 3 international airports. But that wasn't done. A month and 20 days after, that is on the 24th of March, we heard that the chief of staff to the president did what? Tested positive. And the rest became history. I wouldn't blame him for that. I know that the president is not a scientist, but he has scientists around him and he has some people that would have advised him. There are so many things that he might not know, and that's why he needs advisors. So I expected the advisors to have told him that there was there's a national authority that handles this. And that would have also helped us to secure our doctors. Unfortunately, we've lost a lot of doctors and I'm not too comfortable with that. And even as I speak now, no scientists that have been trained, sponsored with money by this country have been told anything. Every one of us just watching what is happening. Who are those that are the frontliners? We do not know how to start helping people at this stage. I personally came back with a lot of PPE from Switzerland. NEMA has a lot. I personally inspected that of NEMA. I have an expert with them there. And we have them, but they are not being used. They were supposed to call us, and then we bring all our PPEs, move to the, and even assist the doctors with some of those PPEs. But no one called us, and there's nothing anybody can do about that. Now, I appreciate what the president is doing, but I personally see all the strategies as being a lift from what others are doing. Americans went on a lockdown, we also went on a lockdown. America has what to do, and they have what it takes to go on a lockdown. We do not have what it takes to go on a lockdown. Now, we have gone on a lockdown. What were we doing? Everybody was in a lockdown for more than a month, and every one of them, nobody was using the face mask. No one was using the glove. It was not emphasized. Instead, what we were doing was sharing food for people, and people saw it as an avenue to make money. The most important thing was to get the mask, because the respiratory droplet from an infected individual is what infects others. And you just have to cover, he just needs to cover his mouth or his nose. And the only thing that makes him to be able to cover his mouth or his nose is the use of the face mask. What also prevents me from inhaling what comes out from an infected individual is the face mask. What prevents my hands from being contaminated by the respiratory droplet from an infected individual is the glove. That is the real lockdown. That is a tactical lockdown. Now, I still appreciate that people were asked to stay home, stay at home. That was good. One advantage of that is that all the surfaces, if it was possible that people stayed away from their workplaces and every other surface and concentrated in their houses, then the environment that have been contaminated, the viruses would have naturally died because they do not have nucleus. They are not living things. They will disintegrate and die, whether we decontaminate the surfaces or not. That was the importance of the lockdown by my own stories and by my own experience, what I know. But how many people really were in the lockdown? And why on the lockdown, everyone was supposed to be on a mask and glove, and not issuing pass for people to go out as if the pass was an immunity against coronavirus. Someone will go to the roadblock and then the police will ask, where is your pass? And they will show his pass without mask, without glove, and it goes. Rubbish. The real lockdown, the real pass was what? The glove and the mask. Only few states, I do not know who advised them. I was so comfortable and so happy when I heard what the governor of Cross River State did. Wonderful. I'm told he's an environmentalist. I give him kudos for that. He went about, he started producing, the mask. Every other governor could do that. People will buy. People will buy. Just produce and make it a little bit cheaper, and then they will buy. It will bring a source of fund to the state. Nobody is saying give out for free if that's what they are afraid of. And not the food. There is no how you can feed your state. There is no how you can feed the whole country. If you want to talk about the palliative, those that really need the palliative are not in the village, but in the city. Those are the ones that you lock down their stores, lock down their shops. And not people that are in the village that they will already use, they are close to the farm. No matter how you tell them not to go out, they will go to their farm and get their food. Activities could go on in the village without anything, because the real issue that we are having is in the city and not in the villages. How dare you stop someone from going to the farm? Because it's a lockdown, as if the cure is when you stay in the house. The cure is not when you stay in the house. The cure is when you do not allow the respiratory droplet to get into your body. The cure is when you do not infect yourself. Most of these things that we are doing is, has to do with our ignorance of how the infection comes up, and we just need a good orientation. The Spanish flu in 1918 came just like this, People were ignorant of the use of masks, and before you know what's happening, 500 million people were infected out of a world population of 1.5 billion. Before they discovered the use of the mask, 25 million people died in 1 week. At the end, 50 million people died, and people were now forced to use the mask at gunpoint. The mask was what made the avian flu, the Spanish flu, to become a history today. So what are we doing? Even during the lockdown, everybody should have been on the mask. Now, you don't tell people to be on a lockdown, then you give them two hours to go and get something to eat, and they go empty. They go out and infect themselves as much as possible and come back to the house. And then some governor will say you go and buy food on Wednesday and on Saturday, and we are calling that a lockdown, for Christ's sake. Who advised you? I think we need to do something about it. Another thing is the use of phones. Within this period, people should be very, very careful as we mature in the use of phones. Do not go out to the public with your phone. Keep your phones at home. All calls, when you come back, you can make those calls again. Do not use your phones outside, because when you go home, go out with your phone, you contaminate your phones, come back to your house, sanitize your hands, and you do not sanitize your phone. You are bringing doom back to your house. Please drop your phones at home. For this period, when you come back home, sanitize your hand, you can go ahead and use your phones. Apart from that, we have well formulated solutions that can decontaminate phones, which we know how to produce it, and we have a lot of them around. You can use those ones, or you call us for advice. We tell you which one to use, and then or which one to purchase, and then you use them to decontaminate your phones. Apart from that, drop your phones at home. A lot of people are surprised. It happened in China. They discovered that they took all the precautions into consideration, but a baby was infected. The first baby that had the corona virus. By scientific finding, they now discovered that it was through the phone. You know, children are used to picking their mother's phones and playing games. So if you do not decontaminate your phone when you come back from outside, you end up reinfecting yourself. Now, a lot of people in China, again, we noticed that there were reports that they were discharged. While still building their immunity, they will now discover that a lot of them had the infection again and they tested positive. And findings also revealed that it was through the phone. Meanwhile, they were using their mask, but a lot of them were not concentrating on their gloves, and they were not also disciplined in keeping their phones at home. They came back home with their phones contaminated, and they reinfected themselves. So they had not built enough immunity. That was why they tested positive again, that they had to take them back to the hospital and kept them to build more immunity. So please, you need information to get to where you are. The word of God says, my people perish for lack of knowledge. I'm giving the knowledge. I'm giving you the knowledge now. May God help you to pick it up on time. Thank you very much.